I've hiked more than 200 marked trails across the country. There's only one I can't prove ever existed. If someone offered me $1 million to find it again, I couldn't. Not because I wouldn't go back, because every map that once showed it is different now. Here's what actually happened. It started with a 3-day backpacking trip through Alder's Reach National Forest. There were 4 of us: Corvin, Maelys, Soren, and me. Corvin was the planner. He carried printed topographic maps, even though we all had GPS watches. Maelys had spent years photographing remote landscapes and never went anywhere without her camera. Soren was the quiet one, former search and rescue. If he said we should stop, we stopped. And me? I was the person who believed every trail had an explanation. That trip changed my mind. The ranger at the trailhead looked over our permit, circled our destination on the map, then paused. There are only 2 marked trails beyond this point. Corvin nodded. That's what we planned. The ranger folded the map and handed it back. If you find a third, he looked at each of us before finishing. Don't be curious. Corvin laughed politely. I've heard plenty of trail stories. This isn't one. The ranger's voice stayed calm. If there's another trail where there shouldn't be one, turn around immediately. What if it's an old logging road? Maelys asked. It won't be. How will we know? You'll know. It sounded like one of those strange warnings experienced hikers give newcomers to keep them from wandering off. We thanked him and started hiking. The first day couldn't have gone better. Clear skies, cool air. The trail was easy to follow, weaving through towering pines and granite outcrops. By late afternoon, we reached our campsite beside a narrow creek. Everything looked exactly as the ranger's map described. We cooked dinner, shared stories, and turned in early. Nothing unusual happened. The second day was when everything changed. Just after lunch, Corvin stopped so suddenly that Maelys nearly walked into him. There wasn't a junction here. I looked up. He was right. Our trail split into 3 directions. Left, right, straight ahead. The map showed only 2. Soren unfolded the paper map. He checked the compass, then checked again. No, he frowned. There shouldn't be anything straight ahead. The third trail was different from the others. Narrow, almost too perfect. Fresh soil, no leaves covering it, as though dozens of people had walked it that morning. Except, there were no footprints. Maelys lifted her camera. I'm getting a picture. The shutter clicked. The screen immediately flashed an error. Image not saved. She tried again. Same message. Corvin stepped closer to the mysterious trail. I don't see any danger. Soren grabbed his shoulder. The ranger. Corvin's sight. You don't seriously believe. A sharp crack echoed somewhere deep along the unmarked path. Not a branch snapping. It sounded heavier, like a tree falling. Then, silence. Not ordinary silence. The kind that presses against your ears until you notice your own breathing. Soren backed away first. We're leaving. Nobody argued. We turned around and continued along the marked trail. After another hour, we stopped for water. Corvin unfolded the map again. His face went pale. The creek. What about it? I asked. We crossed it twice. I frowned. So, it only crosses the trail once. I looked behind us. The sound of running water drifted through the trees. Ahead of us, another creek, flowing in the same direction. None of us could explain it. Maelys tried checking her photos. Every picture from that afternoon was gone. Not blurry, not corrupted, missing. The last image on her camera was from lunch. Everything after that simply didn't exist. Soren looked toward the trees. We're making camp. It's only 4, Corvin said. I don't care. We are not hiking after dark. We found a small clearing less than 50 yards off the trail. As I finished pitching my tent, I noticed something nailed to a nearby pine tree. It wasn't old. The wood beneath the nail was still fresh. A weathered wooden sign. The words had almost faded away. But one sentence was still readable. If you find a third trail, don't follow the voices back. I read the sign 3 times before I said anything. Guys, the others walked over. Corvin brushed dirt from the faded wood. If you find a third trail, he stopped reading aloud. None of us finished the sentence. We didn't need to. We'd all seen it. Soren looked deeper into the trees. I don't like this. Neither do I, Maylis said. But someone nailed that sign here recently. The nail was bright, almost new, yet the wood looked as if it had been hanging there for decades. That didn't make sense. We agreed on one thing. At first light, we'd head straight back to the trailhead. No detours, no exploring, no curiosity. As darkness settled over the forest, we kept the fire small. Nobody wandered more than a few feet from camp. Around 10 that night, I heard footsteps, not close, somewhere beyond the trees. Crunch, 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 slow, measured, like someone hiking with a heavy backpack. Corvin looked up. You hear that? I nodded. The footsteps stopped. Then came a voice. Corvin. It was a woman. Clear, calm, somewhere in the darkness. Corvin stood immediately. Mom. Soren grabbed his sleeve before he could take another step. What are you doing? That was my mother. No, Soren said firmly. It sounded exactly like her. Corvin's face tightened. My mother died 6 years ago. The fire crackled. No one spoke. A few seconds later, the voice came again. Closer this time. Corvin. It wasn't pleading. It wasn't threatening. It simply sounded familiar. Soren quietly picked up a thick branch from the fire. If anyone hears someone they know... He looked each of us in the eye. They stay here. Nobody argued. An hour passed. Nothing happened. The tension slowly eased. Maybe we'd imagined it. Then Mayla's camera, sitting untouched beside her backpack, clicked by itself. The flash lit the clearing for a split second. When the darkness returned, the footsteps had moved. They were circling us, never entering the firelight, always just beyond it. Slow, patient, waiting. None of us slept. The moment the sky began to lighten, we packed in silence and left. Within 20 minutes, we reached the junction. Only 2 trails remained. The third was gone. Corvin laughed nervously. See, there has to be an explanation. Soren didn't answer. He was staring at the ground. What? He pointed. Fresh boot prints. For hikers had walked toward the missing trail. Only 3 sets came back. We all counted them. Again and again. The answer never changed. For going in, 3 coming out. Corvin stepped backward. That's impossible. Soren slowly looked up. We're not following our own tracks. A chill ran through me. What do you mean? He pointed farther down the trail, about 50 yards ahead, for people were walking away from us, each carrying backpacks, each wearing the exact same colors we were wearing. They disappeared around a bend before any of us could speak. Maylis raised her camera with shaking hands. This time, it worked. She snapped 3 photos. We ran to the bend. The trail beyond was empty. No hikers. No footprints. Nothing. We didn't stop moving until the ranger station came into view. The same ranger was sweeping the porch. He looked up as we approached. Then he quietly set the broom aside. You found it. It wasn't a question. Soren nodded once. The third trail. The ranger closed his eyes for a moment. I was hoping the rain had hidden it. Corvin unfolded the map. It isn't here anymore. It never stays. What is it? The ranger looked toward the forest. I've spent 23 years trying to answer that. He reached for Mayla's camera. May I? She handed it over. He opened the last photograph, the one she'd taken after seeing the hikers ahead of us. There were 4 people in the picture, standing on the trail, all wearing our clothes, all carrying our packs. The ranger zoomed in. None of them had faces, just smooth shadows where their features should have been. He handed the camera back without a word. Corvin whispered. "What were they?" The ranger shook his head. "I don't know." Then he said something I'll never forget. "I only know one thing. They're always walking out before the real hikers arrive." I haven't been back to Alder's Reach. I've looked at dozens of updated trail maps over the years. None of them show a third path. The ranger retired not long after our trip. When I called the park years later, the woman who answered told me no ranger by that name had ever worked there. Maybe she was mistaken. Maybe the records were lost. Or maybe some trails don't just disappear. Maybe they erase every proof that they were ever found. So if you're hiking deep in the wilderness and your map says there are only 2 trails, stop counting after 2, because sometimes the path that isn't supposed to exist is already expecting you. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, subscribe to the Forgotten Campsite for more original camping horror stories every week. Leave a like if this one kept you looking over your shoulder, and let me know in the comments. Would you have turned back the moment you saw the 3rd trail? Or would curiosity have one? Until next time, stay on the marked path and never follow a trail that seems too eager to be found.